All right, everybody, here we go with the notes for Chapter 6, talking about the internet, I should say, I almost said interwebs, the internet, web audio, and web video. This chapter is going to be done in two parts. We'll cover Section 1 in this video. Some basics on the internet under the general direction of the Internet Society, a set of internet standards and protocols, or a set of rules by which the internet works, was all created that made it possible for computers, applications, and services to operate across many different computer networks. And some of those things that were set in place, some of those protocols, are going to be listed here. Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP. This breaks a message into smaller packets and recombines them at the message's destination. So it's kind of like it chops it all up into little bits and sends that information down in bits and then gets all recompiled once all those bits reach their destination. An Internet Protocol puts an address on each packet and makes sure the packets get to their destination. And locating a specific destination on the internet is handled via a Uniform Resource Locator, or a URL. And that's the actual web address for a particular site. So when you are looking for information from 883wuaw.com or whatever website you are looking to tap into, that is the URL, whatever your .com or .org or .net or .whatever is. The internet as a communications medium. The biggest use of the internet is for personal communication. We've been seeing more and more that broadcasting has been happening online and is more accepted as a broadcast sort of medium, and using the term broadcast kind of loosely here. But by and large, it's still very much personal communication because we use it to interact with people, sending emails, instant messages, those sorts of things. We receive different notices from different websites, and we tend to consume the communication in a much more personal sort of way than we do television or even radio. So internet is still primarily a personal communication tool. The internet functions as a mass communication device, though, thanks to several different developments. First off, the World Wide Web, its deployment in the early 1990s. Prior to that, the internet was mostly these different message boards and forums and use of electronic mail and things like that. HTML, hypertext markup language, the tool used to create web pages. And that is still widely used today. It's kind of evolved, and you've got different elements that go along with that. But when you're looking at a page, it's written in that particular code, HTML. Browsers are programs that people use to access the web. That's your Chrome, your Firefox, your Edge, your Opera. And plugins, basically software programs that expand the abilities of browsers. So in order for you to have a certain feature that you use on your particular web browser, you use a plugin to make that happen. Now let's talk about some of the impacts that the internet has in various aspects of our culture. First off, the effects that it has on other electronic media. File sharing programs have revolutionized the way that people sought after and acquired music in particular, but really all different types of files, media files, documents, software programs, all of that has really become much easier to send back and forth because of different file sharing protocols. iPods and iTunes have allowed people to purchase individual songs instead of going to a record store and buying a full album on a CD or a cassette or vinyl. By the way, vinyl making a comeback these days. Check that out. Downloading of pirated movies was eased by the advent of different video services, including Netflix and Hulu, and many other ones out there. File sharing protocols also contributing to the ability to be able to get bootleg copies of your favorite entertainment. People who spend time on the internet spend less time watching TV, but some of that time online is spent watching episodes of TV programs. When we interact with certain services like Netflix and Hulu and the different network apps that are available, many times we're watching the shows on demand that we could have watched at a certain day and time on a particular television station. And because most radio listening is done in cars, the internet, it's had a minor impact on listening time. It's putting more and more of a dent into it as we go along, as aux ports and Bluetooth capability is becoming more prominent in later model cars these days. And the availability of mobile internet has increased the ability to stay connected to a particular stream of content. But radio is still among the top when it comes to the number of people that interface with it on a weekly basis. The effects the internet has had on video sharing and gaming and social networks. A recent survey asked respondents, what sources of entertainment do you turn to most often? The internet came in second, only behind television. So, we just talked about how radio is still used by a lot of people, but as far as the amount of time that is spent with a particular form of entertainment, television's still overall on top, although these days the internet is closing in on that gap of being in second place. And who knows, maybe this year with in 2020 with the pandemic that's happened, maybe it's come into first place. Now, who knows? That'll be interesting to see. About 60% considered social networking sites to be a form of entertainment, especially among young adults age 18 to 24. To log on to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of the other ones, and interface with those. It's not just a way to connect with people, it's considered a form of entertainment as well. Our friends and neighbors supplying a significant amount of our entertainment through things like Facebook and the dank memes that are out there. Also YouTube, where anybody can be a TV star. TikTok also taking up a lot of that, at least for now, while people still have access to TikTok here in the United States. There's some changes there. We'll see how that plays out over the next couple of months. Experts estimate that about 30 to 40 million people play online games using the Xbox or PlayStation, and many video games are using motion sensors. As a result, many older people have joined the video game audience. You want to have a good bit of fun? Watch someone in the greatest generation play with a Wii. It's good times. It is. Multitasking. One 2009 survey found that 59% of Americans reported surfing the web while watching television at least once during a typical month. I'm sure that number has increased over the past 10 years. It's very easy to pull out your phone and scroll through your social media feed as you're watching a program on television. Social networking downfalls include sharing of personal information, things like embarrassing photos getting leaked out, cyberbullying, and online predators as well. So it is a bit of a risky thing to go online, depending on how conscious you are of those things, how involved you are in some of those things, and whether or not you are being mindful of being smart when you are on the web to try to prevent some of those things from happening, and not being a jerk and causing some of those things to happen as well. The effects that online has had on news. On a typical day, more than 60% of Americans get their news online. This is now behind television and ahead of newspapers, is what that should say. Newspapers have unfortunately, slowly been dying off in the United States. A lot more newspapers either shuttering their doors or reducing the number of papers they produce in a week or going online only. You can't beat them, join them. But most of us nowadays looking to our online environments to keep up on top stories, and a lot of that comes from the social media feed. The audience for the network's evening news programs have declined by 30% over the years. However, cable news viewership continues to grow as we get used to the idea of the 24-hour news cycle. People have been gravitating towards cable news as a way to get their national news fix instead of waiting until 6:30 in the evening to turn on the network evening newscast. Traditional news outlets have devoted more resources to their websites and have even done some integrating of what they do in their traditional realm. TV news, for example, telling viewers that for more information on a particular story, they can check out the story online on their webpage. Social media, posting on such sites as Twitter and Facebook sometimes wind up becoming the main source of information about a breaking news event. This is especially true when it comes to international news. We a lot of times will find out about things happening around the world through someone's social media account when they post of an event that is happening, which has liberated news in many of those international countries where perhaps they don't have as much freedom of speech, or that the news is controlled by the government of that particular country. But we're also seeing it stateside as well, as we're seeing more and more people pulling out their smartphones to capture news events as they are happening. Which leads us to kind of a new breed of reporters called citizen reporters. Because you do have a camera in your pocket, it makes it so easy for you to be able to record what's going on, perhaps make commentary on what's going on. And a lot of news outlets are even encouraging viewers to send in content to help them keep up to date with what's happening. Blogs are web journals that display information, and they can be used in so many different ways, from being kind of an online diary to a place where you can post various types of information or commentary. And blogs can influence news in several ways. They can provide a check on the mainstream press. If the media are presenting a story in a certain way, bloggers may have a different take on that particular story. They do turn private citizens into reporters, citizen reporters. And blogs can affect what is covered by the mainstream press. If there is enough of a following on the blog or on a social media site, and a story is being covered and is gaining a lot of traction, it can attract the attention of the traditional news media, and they can pick up the story and help carry that story along. Some of the effects of online on promotion and marketing. Program producers coordinate programming both on their television stations and on their websites. And you see a lot of collaboration where you have the online element showing previews of what may be coming up on a particular episode of a program. You might have within the television show mentions to go to a website or go to an app for interactive elements of a particular program. Phone apps do allow for promotion and for interaction with various traditional programming as well. A good example of that is the game show on Fox called Beat Shazam, where they've actually partnered with the Shazam app that you can play along with the contestants as you're watching the program if you have the Shazam app. And Shazam detects that you are watching that particular game show. The mobile internet, Pew Research Center postulated back in 2010 that by 2020, mobile devices will be the primary tool worldwide for connecting to the internet. And we've seen stories where that has pretty much been proven to be the case, especially around the world where people may not have the ability to afford a desktop or laptop computer. The phone has made people around the world be able to be connected in such an easy and profound way, and to be able to have that information available right in their hands. More people are watching TV on cell phones and tablets, which has been kind of a surprising move in a way, where you do have a certain segment of the population that is looking for screens bigger and bigger, and television producers continue to create bigger and bigger screens. There's also an affinity for consuming content on the small screen, and thus making the things that we view in particular much more private and intimate, which was kind of a realm that was pretty much reserved for radio and audio for the longest time. So this is a good place for us to take a break. We'll finish up with the rest of the notes as we hop over to part B of the chapter 6 video.